What's up, everyone? Chad from the Snow Phoenix here. I'd just like to start today by welcoming you all to the channel, and if you are new here, please consider subscribing, as we would love to have you join along in our journey and help grow this community. So today we're going to be kicking things off with a deck profile of not only my favorite deck, but my favorite character, Zane Truesdale, and Cyber Dragons. So Cyber Dragon is the deck that I've probably used, well, not probably, but I've definitely used most throughout any of my locals or competitive dueling, as well as just for fun. So this deck has gone through so many changes and revamps with extra support and all that sort of stuff over the last few years, and it's hopefully got some more to come. But without further ado, let's kick it off. So this is obviously a going second base deck and focusing more on the OTK side of things. So your mainstay, the main boy, 3 copies of Cyber Dragon. Now obviously your starter, the OG, some people don't run 3, but in the OTK really want to run 3. Next off, 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Core, one of the most powerful cards in the deck. Your searcher, your starter. Not only do you have the effect when summoned, but you also have the effect in the graveyard as a bit of a backup as well. Then 3 copies of hers. Again, such a powerful card, similar to Core. You've got that search ability whilst in the graveyard, as well as if it is special summoned from any sort of effect, it becomes a level 5, which is obviously perfect for going into Nova and then Infinity. And then I run 2 copies of Nashta. Now, I'd used to run 3. A lot of people suggest running only 1, but in a lot of my simulations, it works still really well. Like if for some reason you can't OTK in that first turn that you have, and then you do get another turn, perhaps Infinity's in the grave, Nova's in the grave, Sieg's in the grave, any of those sort of things, Nashta's great to be able to target those and reload. I do run a Veer as well. I have run it through, obviously, using like Dual Nexus and all that kind of thing, and it does work out pretty well. If you can summon, you just get that sort of bonus monster on the field, and depending on the hand you draw, it might be okay just to give that extra attack to, say, a Cyber Dragon to get over something. And then we also have 2 copies of Galaxy Soldier, one of the best cards in the deck. Now, you can run 3, but you definitely should run at least 2. Fantastic way. You draw 1, you can get it out, you can get the second one, and then essentially you're straight into CDI and well on your way to winning the duel. And then some extra support sort of cards that I'll probably tweak a little bit. We've got Chaos Dragon Levianeer and the Kaiju. So the Kaiju is obviously fantastic for getting it on to your opponent's side of the field. If they've got something you can't get past, bang, special summon this over the top of it, go into your fortress, and there you go. Levianeer is fantastic for all the cards that you can have in the grave. Obviously, you're probably going to have a lot of lights, definitely, but we do have there's a couple of darks used from the fusions, so if they get put in the grave, you're well on your way to breaking some board power there of your opponent, and obviously 3k beat stick, fantastic card as well. Want to get a second copy of this to add into this deck that we'll tweak around a bit, but hopefully it runs pretty well so far. And now we move into the hand traps. So we run 3 Ash, 3 Veiler. Now obviously you've got to run Ash, such a powerful card. Veiler, fantastic, not limit to once per turn. Also Light Monster, very important in the Cyber Dragon deck. Currently have 1 copy of Nibiru. Now, that's the only copy that I have at the moment. I probably would run 3. Again, Light Monster, great for board breaking of the opponent. Everyone's running Nibiru, at least in their side, if not in their main deck. So, got to have, well, the only copy I have in there. And then the other hand trap, again, all light, is your 3 Gamma and your Driver. So, with a lot of the effects in your going second, so whether it's a core summoning, gets ashed, Gamma this, whether it's you got hers in the grave, you're trying to bring that out, Cyber Emergency, whatever it is, get Gamma there, and you're well on your way. Then 3 copies of Machine Dupe. Obviously, if you're going for the OTK style, you have to have 3. Hers, Core, Nashta, whichever you can get out there. Usually it will be Core, but Machine Dupe has to be part of this. 3 copies of Cyber Emergency, one of the best spell cards in this deck. Obviously search function, but also the bonus effect that if it is negated, you can discard a card in your hand and bring this back to your hand from the grave. So then we go into some fusion cards. So we run 1 Cyberload, 1 Overload, and I also have a Power Bond copy in here, which is probably a bit niche compared to some of the other decks that are out there today. But your Cyberload need to run, if you go with Overload to banish, or a lot of the other meta decks out there that are banishing your cards, Cyberload, fantastic for that. You get them back. Not only can you make your fusion monster, but you can get them back into the deck, the materials. Overload, just fantastic when you can use it from your side of the field or the graveyard. Definitely needed in the deck. And Power Bond as well, being OTK, the amount of times that you can either go into your Rampage, and obviously you can give it up to 3 attacks, but with Power Bond, then you've got a 3 attack 4200 beatdown. So essentially, Power Bond to a Rampage, pretty much win the duel. Then I run a copy of Foolish Burial in this deck. So sometimes I have noticed while doing some of the online duels that you can get a little stuck, and sometimes Foolish Burial just as that extra card in there, to whether it's to get hers in the graveyard to use its effect, or Core to use its effect, or perhaps you just need another monster in the graveyard and then you can bring out Levianeer, whatever it is. Foolish Burial has come in handy for me, that's for sure. Then I do run a Rev system and 1 copy of Cyber Repair Plan. So the Rev system probably isn't as much of a necessity as it was back in maybe last year, the year before, but it still does come in handy to bring out, even if it's just a normal Cyber Dragon, you can just special summon it. Can't be destroyed by card effects, sometimes can come in handy, or it can even just be that extra piece you need to get into your Link or your CDI, whatever you're doing. Cyber Repair Plan, just as your recycler, definitely got to have one of these. You can run 2. I used to run 2 or even 3, but at the moment, with how I've been playing around with this build, 1 has been pretty sufficient. And then the last card in the main deck is the Trap, your Cybernetic Overflow. Such a powerful trap card, especially going second. All right, now for the extra deck. So this is probably the weakest part, so to speak, of this deck. Now, only because I have essentially what I have here, but there's definitely a few Link monsters, particularly from Dual Overload and some other sets that I haven't got that would be very much required in this. It's still competitive from what I've found, but definitely can be much better. So I currently run 2 copies of Seeger. That's only because of the availability that I have. That will be cut down to 1 when I can get the others. 2 Mega Fleet. Obviously, with so many decks utilizing Link monsters in the metagame, fantastic counter for that. 1 Fortress Dragon, which again, using your Kaiju or whatever it is, or if you're up against a deck that is running machines, fantastic card to have. I do run an Almirage and 1 Genius as well. The Genius doesn't really get used. It's something that I used to use in the profile. Haven't really used it too much. Can be utilized, but it's not something that I have recently anyway. And then we're looking at the more powerful cards. So we run 2 copies of Nova. Very much required card. And then I am running 2 copies of CDI. I'll reduce that down to 1 once I get the rest of these links that I do need in this deck. But, if you can get 1 out and whatever happens, you can't OTK, you get another turn, then you've got the chance to get that other one if you can't bring the second back with Nashta. I do also run 1 Cyber End Dragon. Now that probably is a bit of nostalgia in it as well, but it can very much come in handy. You've got Power Bond there. Power Bond to Cyber End, bang, you're up to an 8,000. Ready for an OTK. So also with Nova 2, you can essentially, if that card gets sent to the grave, You can special summon a machine type fusion, and Cyburn Dragon is a very good one of those, bringing out a 4K monster. Definitely not bad at all. And then last but not least, probably the most powerful card in this deck for OTK is your Rampage Dragon. So we run 2 of those, and depending on how many monsters you use to fusion summon this, you can destroy spell or trap cards on the field up to the amount of materials used. So also another fantastic tool. Whether you're afraid of there's some sort of trap or there's something that you can't get around on the field, you can use that. So usually you're going to run with obviously 2, but potentially 3 materials for it. But you do have that flexibility that if you can go for more, then you can pretty much break the back row of your opponent as well. And the other effect, which is just once per turn, it isn't limited to the turn it's summoned, is by discarding 2 light machine monsters, well, up to 2, from your deck, you get extra attacks for it. So that's where the OTK side of thing comes into play. Giving this card 3 attacks, whether you got a CDI as well, whatever else you got on the board, there's a good chance that you can be able to OTK your opponent, and it is very crucial in that play. So that pretty much covers the extra deck as well. Like I said, there's a lot of things that need to be modified in this. Hopefully I'll be I've got a few boxes of Dual Overload on order as well. So once those arrive, we'll be able to modify this again and I'll showcase that to you. But rolling with the CDI combo with the OTK side of your Rampage Dragon or even a Cyber End, it's very powerful as that going second deck. Going first, you can still get around it, but it's definitely a going second base deck. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about the deck profile, what you would change personally, what you like, what you don't like. Perhaps if there's another deck profile that you'd like to see, let me know. Otherwise, until next time, see ya!